It's the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the OddPods Media Network. Recorded from Detroit, Michigan, and Jacksonville, Florida. The Infectious Groove Podcast is your source for jammy jams, album reviews, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
Here we are. It's Russ, and this is the Infectious Groove Podcast, and I am known for getting songs stuck in people's heads on Twitter every so often, so I've always wanted to open the show with the Nights on Broadway / Barry Gibb talk show, and I never have, and I just did, and I hope every single person that pushed play on this episode now has Nights on Broadway stuck in your head. And that's not even one of my jammy jams. I'm just being ruthless over here. We've discussed it quite a lot. This is the last season of the audio show, and I'm just being ruthless this time around. However, I'm not alone. I have with me a member of the OddPods Media family, which is a term that you hear us use a lot on the show because OddPods is one big family, and we like to have as many people on from our network as we can, along with a lot of other podcasters that we enjoy just out in the general wild. But this gentleman has been on the network, I think even a little bit longer than me, and in our show here on Infectious Groove Podcast. And they do a little bit of everything over on their show. And he has been on our show before. I've gone over on their show. Representing one half of the Super Media Brothers on our program this week is Richie. Richie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. How's it going?
It is going. I want to say that you and I are the only two people in the country not experiencing crazy weather right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think so. Except just in the South over here, I feel like the weather was just like, oh, you guys are ready to wear shorts, and it just turned around and looked at us like, nope. Because this week it got cold out of nowhere for no reason, and I walked outside to go to work, and I was just like, nope, let me go right back in and find a jacket. Because
I'm going to turn around and get.
But that's the craziness of our weather so
far.
But
I feel
nothing.
I feel like in our respective regions, like the two of us are used to being the ones that the rest of the country is like, whoa, what's going on there? So like, it's fine for us for once to not have the crazy weather and turn on the news and be like, whoa, look what's happening over there.
Yep, exactly. I'm not turning the news on. You know what? I was happy the entirety of last year that I didn't turn any of the news stations on and be like, well, let's pack up and just, evacuate.
Right. Yeah. No kidding. So, Richie from the Super Media Brothers, you hear their promo run in our show a lot. What they do over there on their program is similar to what we do. They talk about all things pop culture, so they're a little more expanded than we are, and they don't, a lot of times with shows like that, you'll pretty much get music, movies, and some video games. Well, Super Media Brothers will touch on those things, and they also will cover whatever is occurring in wrestling at the time. And whether or not you like WWE or AEW, I've seen you guys cover both pretty equally, I think.
Yeah, we cover WWE. We mostly do the current pay-per-views that are running, and we also have
you'll excuse me, premium live events.
No, yeah, I freaking hate that term.
I know,
like,
me too. It's like when they got the F out, I hated that too.
I did too. Yeah. So, because it took me forever to switch over to calling it WWE. Like we actually referenced it PLE or premium live event. Like we joke about it anytime it does come.
I know.
We're just like,
I know.
yeah, but no, we'll cover like current ones and AEW. I could say pay-per-views on AEW, but we cover the current pay-per-views on them and the PLEs of the WWE. And we also do a thing that we call our 30-year time machine series, where it's WWE and WCW, where we go back 30 years, depending on the year. Like this year, we're going into 1993 for both companies. Mm-hmm. And like we're doing the Big 4 / Big 5 for WWE. In fact, next month we'll be covering WrestleMania 9, unfortunately. And so if anybody out there listens, or watches wrestling, like that one was so.
Well,
we'll
speaking of
tear it apart a little bit.
Speaking of 1993, unfortunately, so and every other terrible word you can use to describe anything. When you get around to the mid to late part of the year, you're going to need to holler at me because I was at the worst SummerSlam in the history of SummerSlams. I was there and it was awful. And you're going to need to extend your format for that episode because I'm going to need a while to cry. And you guys are going to have to talk me through some therapy. It's going to be awful.
Yeah, I definitely planned on having you on that one for sure.
I demand a redo. I demand a redo.
Absolutely.
SummerSlam is back in Detroit this year, and I seriously am thinking about hopping a flight up there just to get my redo.
I would.
Yeah.
Take the Lex Express.
Oh, that's a terrible thing to say to someone.
That is a deep cut.
Cut me real deep, Trick. All right. Well, we are going to get down to business on this episode. In the second half, Richie has been kind enough to join us for an album review. Not just any album review. It is my turn to pick an album to review. So I have chosen the second studio LP from Billie Eilish called Happier Than Ever. So in the second half of the episode, that's what we're going to get into. Talk through what we like about the record, what we don't like about the record, have a little bit of open discussion on it, throw some facts your way about the album, and so on. So that will be occurring in the second half of the episode. But before we get there, we always share some feedback and what we've been listening to lately. So let's kick things off with the feedback.
Feedback, John.
Don't worry about that. Right. There's rock and roll be without feedback.
Last week on the program, we had our friends from the Itch Rocks, and it was a mess in the most beautiful way possible. The episode kicked off with, I don't think we've ever had an episode get derailed faster than that episode got derailed. And it had to do with how easily Michelle gets distracted and where it looked like one of the fellas from the Itch was recording from and so on. So we have some feedback on that situation. And our friend Seth writes in and says, I felt so bad for Aaron on this episode. What's amazing is there's another R. Kelly joke there, and it's not even the obvious one. And the joke that Seth is referring to was we couldn't tell if Aaron from the Itch Rocks was recording in a bathroom or a closet. And so you could make the obvious joke or the trapped in the closet joke. And I do want to say, by the way, first of all, we gave Aaron a real hard time about it, and he was a super good sport about it the whole time. Like, he just laughed it off. He was super cool about it. Second of all, and I don't think this was lost on anyone, but we were in no way poking fun at like their setup or their audio. Like, they have killer setup. They're great guys. And actually, before we went live, Richie and I were talking about the ins and outs of recording and streaming and stuff. And we were talking about like when companies charge you to remove a watermark and stuff like, and it's like, dude, if your content's good, no one cares about anything like that. So no matter where Aaron was recording from, he's a fantastic guest and he knows a ton about music and everything. But I did love that Seth picked right up on the trapped in the closet joke.
Dude, right. And to go off of that, just side note real quick, like one of our most trafficked interviews on YouTube, we interviewed this dude from our bedroom closet.
Yeah.
Like, because the sound was good in there. And this was like in the early days of the show.
Dude,
and,
the very first, Weird Al's very first single was recorded in his college dorm room bathroom.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
And I could be wrong, but I believe he's done well for himself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
weirdly. So
right. Seth goes on to write that, oh my God, I got Michelle to listen to a song and she liked it. I'm okay with the podcast ending now, which is a life goal to get Michelle to even listen to something, let alone like it. And they were referring to the latest single from Fall Out Boy. Both Seth had been pushing for Michelle to listen to it, and she finally did. And they both liked it a lot. So that's kind of a miracle.
They're great.
Yeah, I really don't have anything against them at all. And actually, we had a ton of complimentary things to say last week about their version of Beat It and how it stacks up against the original and so on. Our friends at the BFYTW podcast wrote that they went ahead with the most obvious pun in the history of the world and said this episode is a thriller. Yeah, I'm going to give that pun the silence it deserves.
Are you going to give the old 4 out of 10?
Right. Yeah. Our friend Garrett over at the Ever Trending Story podcast wrote in and said he was laughing out loud at the cheese stands alone comment because before I read the rest of Garrett's feedback, he had written in about our episode before that, where Dayton from the Docking Bay podcast and I shared our top 5 soundtracks of all time. And neither of us included Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny. And when I read Garrett's feedback on that, pretty much everybody on the program last week began to say not nice things about Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny and kind of left it up to me to back clean up. And I was like, well, the cheese stands alone. This is just Garrett that's liking that. And but Garrett goes on to say the Tenacious D movie is fine, but I truly think the soundtrack was great, with the highlights being Kick-a-Pop with guest spots from Dio and Meatloaf and Beelzebub with Dave Grohl. Awesome songs. And again, everybody listening knows the deal of the show. Like if you love it, great, you know, and again, the guys from the Edge weren't like Tenacious D is the worst thing ever. They just, you know, they were just like, we just don't like that particular thing from Tenacious D. So Garrett rounds things out by saying, man, Michelle was fired from a cannon on this episode. And yes, she was. Good, bad, or indifferent. She sure was last week.
I saw that comment and I was like, that was my legit reaction. She's like,
it was last week was probably the most Michelle she's been in the 3 years that we've been doing the show. It was
That's saying something.
Yeah, it really is. Rounding things out on feedback, Nick Macchiato writes in regarding my a couple of things that we talked about last week with different covers and things where when you hear that a band is going to cover something, you kind of know what it's going to sound like ahead of time. During that, and Richie, you'll get this, I had mentioned when someone told me that White Zombie was doing Children of the Grave on the Black Sabbath tribute album, I literally was like, well, I don't even need to hear that. Like, I know what that's going to sound like, right?
Right.
Yeah. So Nick writes in and says, well, someone mentioned Children of the Grave, so naturally I had to listen to that on the way to work this morning. After that song ended, Paranoid automatically followed it, and so now I'm hyped and I want to go kick all of the ass.
It's hard not to.
Yeah. And I recommended to him, I said, well, if you need to calm down, what I would tell you to do is listen to a track from Technical Ecstasy by Black Sabbath called It's All Right, which is like, it's a ballad along the lines of like Changes. So like if you want to hear Sabbath and you need to calm down after those two tracks, like I recommend going with the It's All Right number.
Right.
So that is the feedback that we had from last week and a little bit from the week before that. So if you ever have anything you want to share from us, you have so many different places that you can leave us feedback. If you just pretty much Google Infectious Groove Podcast, you can find anywhere to leave us feedback on the episode as we go through this particular topic that we're going to discuss in the second half. Having said that, before we get to the second half, Richie and I have to share with you what we've been listening to, and we call that segment Our Jammies. So the ones that I've been listening to lately are things that this is the most random stuff that has popped into my head, but it's songs that I love so much that, and it's like why haven't I listened to this in so long? Right. You know, like, you know, when that happens, like not just when you hear a song and you go, oh man, I love that song. But when you go, why is this happening to me? Why haven't I listened to this in a long time? You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
All right. So the first two are two Van Halen tracks, and they're from the same record, which is the Van Halen Best of Volume 1 that came out in the mid-90s. And of course, I'm not just like, oh, it's two best of songs, but it's the two songs they recorded with David Lee Roth for that album. Killer tracks. Yeah. Can't Get This Stuff No More and Me Wise Magic. And for me, those two songs are almost the opposite of what I said with White Zombie covering, and I know exactly what this is going to sound like, right? If you had told me in that year, David Lee Roth is coming back and they're going to do two songs, I would have written you like a wish list of what I wanted in the songs, and both of these songs exceed everything I would have had on my wish list.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I got that album, it had just come out. I remember buying it in a Blockbuster Video of all places.
Yeah. Slick cover on it too, by the way. It looks so classy with the black and the gold.
I know. And that's what attracted me to it, to be honest with you. It was like, oh, best of, like, you know, and I was going to buy For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. That's my favorite, like second favorite Hagar.
That's such a great album.
My favorite Hagar one is Balance. Like, a lot of people look at me sideways when I say
your lips
that,
to God's ears. You know why that's your favorite? Because that's the best. That is the best record they did with Sammy Hagar. You know who knows that as a fact? Me, you, and about 3 other people. The rest of the world is catching up to it now. Like, you'll hear more praise for Balance these days, but you couldn't tell people you were a Balance fan even 10 years ago.
No. And that's sad too.
I know.
You know?
It's great. Dude, that's some of the best lyrics Sammy's ever written on that record.
I mean, composition and everything.
So you were gonna pick up For Unlawful, but then you ended up picking up the best of instead.
I did, because I didn't have all of their stuff, and I looked and I was like, well, I can, you know, being as young as I was like, well, I can cherry pick and just get something good from everything. It's a good cross-reference for sure. It's definitely a good lesson in the history of Van Halen. It is, and especially when you look at the track listing and realize they did it in chronological order of the album releases as far as like the stuff. And then to go on about the David Lee Roth tracks, oh my God, dude, they were so fantastic. And I remember hearing them, and I was like, but I didn't realize that that's what that was. I was like, well, what are these two songs? And as time went on. Yeah. You know, as time went on, I was like, oh, this is a thing. And like, it's hard to pick of which of those two I like more, because they're both fantastic in their own way.
Well, yeah, they're completely different vibes.
Right.
Yeah, completely different. But it's funny to me. It's interesting because you're a little younger than me. And it's, when I first got into Van Halen was when 1984 broke, right? And I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest band ever. And then like the next news is, and they broke up. You're like,
yeah.
God damn it.
That was my first Van Halen album too. I can still remember to this day. That's the first album I can remember listening to as a kid, like young. I was in my dad's beat up blue Dodge Ram pickup truck in 1984 on cassette in the cassette deck. Just
what a fantastic LP.
Yep.
So anyways, those two songs that they got back together with David Lee Roth and did, they would go on to do what I believe is underrated and wildly underappreciated album, A Different Kind of Truth later. So they did do a full record with David Lee Roth again before we lost Eddie. But I think those two songs, Me, Wise Magic and Can't Get This Stuff No More, are fantastic. The other two are ones that were brought to me by like the Spotify algorithm. Like it was just like, hey, I'm going to randomly play these, during a playlist thing. And as soon as both songs started, I was like, why haven't I heard these in forever? And I've listened to them like 10 times in the last week. They're very different songs from each other, but one is Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard by Paul Simon, which I think is just such a cool little jam that like, I don't know. I remember it was obviously a hit when it came out. And then it was kind of like Paul Simon put out a hits package in like the mid to late 80s and it got love again off of that. Like they made a music video for it in the MTV era. So it got like love again then. But it's one of those songs that's like forgotten. If somebody talks about anything to do with Paul Simon now, it's usually Graceland or the Simon and Garfunkel material. Like they don't really talk about a lot of his other solo stuff. And then the other one is a song that I think everybody should listen to more, including me, is Where It's At by Beck. Holy cow. This song makes no sense in all the right ways. Like, I don't think I've ever heard it. Like maybe Hey Ya by Outkast is like a crazier song that got huge, but I just love that song. But yeah, it's one of those songs where the Spotify saw fit to just throw it on to me randomly. And as soon as the organ started, I was like, oh my God, I haven't listened to this in forever.
Right. And anytime Beck comes on, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Because I like him a lot. I love his music. And he, growing up, when I first heard his stuff, I was like, man, this is so quirky sounding and it's so different.
Yeah.
And, but I love how much about like outside the box that dude thinks with how he writes and what he does.
How many different genres he does across his career. Yeah, totally. So those were my jammy jams. Richie, I know you two love music deeply, and I'm certain that there are more than a few songs that you want to share with everybody. So what have you been listening to?
Okay. And it's more albums and songs for me, just because these are just things that I've been rotating in and out, and they're two drastically different genres,
right on,
bands and things, period. So you have Spotify that like recommends you stuff. I'm scrolling Facebook, like doom scrolling one night, and I get an ad for a tour, and it's like, 20th anniversary tour of Year of the Spider by Cold.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I actually haven't listened to that album in a long time. So I just went and threw it in, and I forgot how much of that album I remembered. It was something I spun a lot when it had come out, along with several other artists of the same genre back in 2003. But I forgot how much I really enjoyed it.
I've done that
from front to back.
I don't know. Maybe it's that era, man. Let me say this. If I listen to like 80s rap or 70s rock, I don't put on Houses of Holy by Zeppelin and be like, oh my God, I remember loving this album. Right. But like 98 to like 05 is this void where when I put records on from that era, I'm always like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love this. So
same.
Yeah.
Big same. And this was one of them. And, everybody goes to Stupid Girl, which there's a ton of songs on Year of the Spider that are better. There's Remedy and a ton of others. But like, I focus on Stupid Girl because I actually brought this up recently to a couple of friends of mine. And the look on their face when I was like, Rivers Cuomo from Weezer helped write Stupid Girl, right? And they were like, really? And I was like, go listen to it. He did backing vocals on it. And you can tell like it's his style. Like it's such a different track on that album than the rest of it. But I was like, go listen. You can tell. And if you take Scooter Ward away from it and have Rivers actually sing, it's a Weezer song,
right?
Through and through, And they were like, holy shit, they were like, really? I was like, yeah, dude. But yeah, Year of the Spider is one I've been spinning a lot. Just driving to and from work or just in town. Mm-hmm. But then the other one. The other band that I've been listening to is actually a comedy supergroup band. It's formed by Ninja Sex Party and Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps, which Dan Avidan in Ninja Sex Party, who goes by the stage name of Danny Sexbang, is Aaron's gaming partner on their YouTube channel, Game Grumps. And they've got a group called Starbomb. And Starbomb is essentially a comedy style parody-ish band where they mostly make songs about the video games that they've played. And it's all classic stuff like Zelda, Mario, Pokemon, anything that's a gaming property, they make original songs about. And Aaron does all like the rapping stuff. And then Dan and Ninja Brian, who is his partner in Ninja Sex Party, they write the music, and they all three like have put 3 albums out, and they're all hilarious in their own right. So like, it's super relatable because I don't know a single soul that hasn't played any of the Nintendo franchise.
I was literally just thinking the same thing. It was like for example, you and I had a conversation, I don't know, sometime in the past year about how you love the Kirby games and I had never got around to playing them. But it's like, I know Kirby, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm going to listen to the song and be like, I don't get it.
Right, exactly. And that's the whole thing about this. And they're vulgar as hell. Like, you know, so anybody that's going to listen, do not expect this to be like, I would say like, hey, show your kids. Don't show your kids. I'm a bad father. My son's a teenager, but he loves this band. And
right,
like, I don't give a shit. You know, like he's old enough that he appreciates the humor and gets it. Like, we were all teens. We made dick jokes 24/7 when we were teens. Let's not kid ourselves here. But they have Starbomb, which is self-titled, Player Select, and then their third album is the Triforce, which they completed a trilogy of albums, and it's TRY, like Tri Force. But they're great. Yeah, and on the third album, they actually have a backing band that they're actually friends with in real life, who is actually Ninja Sex Party's backing band on tour called Tupperware Remix Party, that's also a really great band, so check those guys out.
Right.
They label themselves as Intergalactic Space Rock, and they wear full costumes and stuff the entire time they're playing. So
solid.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to check Starbomb out, absolutely go check it out. There's some animated music videos on YouTube that provide more context to the lyrics, and it's a good time. It's fun. It'll make you happy, laugh, and in a good mood. So
right on.
That's
so a couple of completely different things from you, but we've had comments before on the show that's what people like about the Our Jammy Jams segment. And I always plug this, but we have a Spotify playlist that Michelle puts together every Sunday with the tracks that we have. So, between the Jammy Jams that I had and the wildly different things that Richie shared, plus the album that we're going to review, if you wander into our Spotify playlist this week, if you don't like something that's happening, just wait 3 minutes because you're going to hear something wildly different. So those were our Jammy Jams. We are going to take a quick break. When we get back, we are going to get down to the business of this episode, which is the album review, and we will be taking a look at my pick this week, the second album from Billie Eilish, Happier Than Ever. Richie from the Super Media Brothers helping me out with this one. You're listening to the Infectious Groove Podcast on the OddPods Media Network.
This is Beer in Front. Every week I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we get those check-ins and badges. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. That's Beer in Front, part of the OddPods Media Network.
Hi, I'm Shannon.
I'm Jamie.
We're Married with Television, marriedwithtv.com. We are a couple of Hollywood normies on the outskirts of the film and TV industry, and we talk about our favorite TV shows, music, and movies, and sometimes they talk back to us.
Sometimes they do.
Our podcast is Married with Television, one word, on Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Possibly Amazon soon. And we are a proud member of the OddPods Media Network.
Married with TV.
MarriedWithTV.com.
We are back. It's Russ from the Infectious Groove Podcast, and along with me this week for the ride is our friend Richie, part of the OddPods Media family over there on the Super Media Brothers podcast. And everybody can go, you know, if you like what you hear from Richie on this show and you like wrestling and video games and pop culture in general, and you want to go check out another show about all those things, you can just kind of search the internet for Super Media Brothers, the podcast app that you're listening to right now. You can just type in Super Media Bros and it'll come up, and hit that subscribe button. And they have a ton of episodes back. They've been around for a very long time at this, and they've covered tons of different topics. So if you don't see something that speaks to you in their latest episodes, maybe scroll back a little bit. And they're also in the YouTube game as well. So if you want to, if you're subscribed to our channel, you can go and look at like the channels I'm subscribed to through the Infectious Groove Music channel, and you can easily find the Super Media Brothers channel there. So what Richie has joined us for this week is to get down to the business of one of our album reviews. And if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know we do couple of different ways we come up with these album reviews. We usually rotate through. The hosts get to pick one. We sometimes have the audience pick them for us. And this time around, we have come to my pick. And this is an album I've wanted to review on the show for a long time. And for whatever reason, we just have never got to it. And because Richie is a person who has diverse tastes, and I respect a lot in his opinions, he kind of seemed like a good pick and somebody I could trust with this type of album to take a listen to. So we always start these reviews off with me telling the listeners a little bit about the album before we get into what we like, what we don't like, and some open discussion and so on. So the record at hand is Billie Eilish, Happier Than Ever. As I mentioned, this is her second studio record, and it was brought to the world on July 30th, 2021. This record was co-written with her brother Phineas, who produced and played every instrument on the record, which I think is pretty damn cool. To have, you know, first of all, your brother be a strong songwriting partner and have him have the ability to play every instrument on the record. If you're into that sort of thing, the album was nominated for 7 Grammys. There were 7 singles released from the record, with 3 of them reaching the top 10. The album went to number 1 in the US, along with 27 other countries. Holy cow. The album is also, which we will talk about a little bit later, is also accompanied by a concert/concept film that's available on Disney Plus called A Letter to Los Angeles. It is quite fantastic, and we will get into a little bit more of that later. It's not really required pairing for the record, but I will go into the hows and whys of why I think people should watch it. So having said that, I will get into this a little bit later with the open discussion, but for me, this was very much my first experience with a Billie Eilish record. And
wow.
Yeah. And now for you, Richie, you, without us spoiling a lot of the discussion that's about to happen, you had not got around to listening to this record. I don't think in its entirety, at least until I said, hey, this is the record we're doing for the episode. Right.
Right. And surprisingly, I had only listened to When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? You know, when it was out. Cause I mean, it was all the craze, like when it had come out, you know, obviously. And Billie Eilish is a freaking megastar.
Right.
But surprisingly with this album, I hadn't heard, you know, at least to my recollection, I'm sure I've heard something in passing, but I never sat and was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this album. And then I didn't even pick out any of the singles that had come out. And I realized she's been putting singles out since 2020 for this particular album. Mm-hmm. And holy crap, I missed the boat completely on it. No, and it wasn't even like, oh, I hate this album, or I'm not going to check it out. It's Billie Eilish. I freaking like Billie Eilish. Right. I have so much other stuff going on that I'm like, oh, I'll do this later. It was like, this is a to-do list thing.
No, and I hear you. Yep.
I feel like a friggin' moron, like having not listened to it in so long.
You know what? Maybe I can make you feel a little bit better on this, because we always have, like, if an audience member chooses an album, or if Michelle or Kyle did or whatever, we always have them say like, hey, you got to share with us why it is that we're reviewing this record. Right.
Yeah.
So I'll cover that with everybody right now. So here's the thing with me. When Billie Eilish broke, like with Bad Guy and Where Do We Sleep, or Where Do We Go, rather, I avoided everything to do with her. Because, you know, when you go see, when a comedy comes out and everybody you know tells you this is the funniest movie that's ever been made, and then you go see it and you're like, this movie is not that funny.
Yes.
Okay. That is what happened with when We Fall Asleep. I mean, I heard Bad Guy out in public, you know, but I thought people keep telling me this is the greatest thing ever. And there's just by the time I was going to get to listening to the record, I was like, there's no way that this album is as good as everyone is saying that it is. And I wasn't being hipster about it. Like, oh, the popular thing. I just, that's why I make the movie reference, because I think that's more relatable. Like, when that, like I had the movie Old School ruined for me because everybody on the planet Earth told me it was the funniest movie in the history of mankind. And I was just going to die laughing. And then I went to see it and I kept waiting for those moments. And I laughed, but I didn't think it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. So
yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So here's what's funny. So when Happier Than Ever came out, I didn't know it was coming, right? Because again, she was completely off my radar. I was in the music store the day it came out buying other albums, and they had like, a ton of copies of the Billie Eilish record. And I literally stood there and thought, you know what? I'm going to see what this is all about.
You blind bought it.
I absolutely blind bought this record with almost a chip on my shoulder, like I'll be the judge of this,
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember I remember distinctly when I put it on, it was literally almost like as the stylist was dropping, like, well, I'll be the judge of this. And we used to have people over every Friday to listen to records. So I would always put stuff on before anybody got there, and clean up stuff or get beer ready or whatever, or in this case, like, for example, I blind bought albums from artists that I like and then I've played them. And then I've been like, oh, that's not going to go over in a crowd. You know what I mean? Like, so that was kind of like, I'm going to play this. And I remember clearly walking across my own house and with every song that was on this record being like, oh, damn, like this is good too, So that's why I picked this for this, because it's a very unique way I came into the record. And I also think it happens to be unique that like, I didn't send you the album pick and you weren't like, oh dude, pick something else. I really don't like that. Or you weren't like, oh my God, that's my jam. You were like, oh sweet. I've been meaning to look into that. So I think this is two unique perspectives to bring to the record, right?
Absolutely.
So when we go into the best tracks on the record, I am kind of notorious for when it's my album pick going, the everything. I like the everything on this,
I'm the same.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad.
And I promise what I'm about to say is my version of narrowed down choices of
same here.
What I think are the best tracks. Billy Bossa Nova. It's stunning and totally different than anything I was expecting at all. Getting Older, wonderful track. I didn't change my number. My Future, which I think has some of the best lyrics on the record. Lost Cause, Not My Responsibility, which I would hesitate to even call a song because it's more of a spoken word thing. But again, the message though, like,
yeah. And that was actually played, if I'm not mistaken, that was something she did on her tour. I think before this album dropped, maybe, or during the dropping of this record or album. And I'm glad that she included it on there. Honestly, because I would watch live clips of it. I'm like, that's freaking powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful. Yeah, that between that and the lyrics to My Future, it's like if this album was just those two tracks, I would still be praising it, for the lyrical content. And then I rounded out my picks with for best tracks with the title cut, Happier Than Ever. Holy cow.
Yes.
Wow. So now remember, we're going to go through if either of us have any stinkers, and then we're going to get into an open discussion later. But having said that, I picked a greater majority of the record as my best tracks. What did we match up on, and what picks did you have that I maybe didn't?
I've got a lot of picks actually. And a lot of them aren't even, I tend to go for the cuts on the album, like rather than singles, but the good thing about me going into this completely blind also is that I didn't know what the singles were.
Yep.
And so,
what's funny? I still don't know what the singles are. Like
exactly.
I looked up and found out there were 7 singles, and I kid you not, I was like, there were 7 singles. Like,
right. The whole damn thing's a single. Shut up.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with Billy Bossa Nova. I thought that was a fantastic track completely. Obviously, like Getting Older and I Didn't Change My Number are really good openers. Like the first three, those are just like really a good introduction. Like, okay, this is what I'm getting into because they're 3 different tracks.
Exactly.
So
yeah, a fantastic way to open the record.
Yeah, but my picks as far as like, and this is not even necessarily like, okay, the first thing is my favorite, but I will say that Oxytocin is my favorite track on this album.
Sir.
That is such a great goddamn song.
What a banger. What a banger.
Yeah, lyrics, beat, everything about it is just like chef's kiss.
Dude, the first time, I just told you the story about the first time I heard this record. When that song came on, I'm not kidding you. I was alone in my I remember the first time I heard that song, I was alone in my basement. I was pouring at least 3rd or 4th beer by the track placement of the record. And out loud, I stopped pouring my beer and I looked up at the turntable and I said, how dare you? Like, that's how good I think that song is.
Bro, okay, so I spun this album probably 10 times just this week.
Yeah.
Just a while ago before we started, I had Bluetoothed my phone to my Rodecaster. And so I just had it bumping in my headphones. And I actually put that note down, which I think it's a cardinal sin if nobody does this. But this is 100% an album that you need to experience with full over-ear headphones.
Yep.
Full range. And I did the same thing when that song came on. I was just like, oh my God, it is a crime to write shit this good. Lost Cause is another one. Haley's Comet. I love Haley's Comet a lot. That is a fantastic track. Your Power is another one that's really good, like lyrically deep. Like the whole thing is lyrically deep, obviously. NDA. I like NDA because of it is what it is.
Yeah.
Instrumentally speaking is what drove me to that one.
Right on.
Therefore I Am and Happier Than Ever.
Yeah.
Those are all great. Not leaving other ones out because like I would pick the whole damn thing if I could.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not kidding. I'm not looking at the full track list of the record right now, but I think we just hit them all between the two of us.
I'm pretty positive.
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive we did too. But that's the thing about this album. That's the beautiful part is it's definitely a record you can put on and hit play and just disappear into it.
Yeah. No,
if an album can draw me in like that, it's a freaking home run for me.
Well, dude,
completely.
And there was a point if the worldwide lockdowns hadn't happened around the time this record came out, I would have gone door to door with copies of this record and be like, "Hi, have you heard this album? Like, can we listen to it together?" Like, it's just stunningly good.
Do you have the time to talk about our Lord and Savior Billie Eilish?
Yeah. and Phineas.
Yes.
So I'm going to guess that, and I'll have you go first on this. I'm going to guess that when we get to the topic of no stinkers, this is a stinker-free record for you, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me it is.
Okay.
And the thing is like I have a least favorite track and it's not even bad. And I wouldn't even call it a stinker. I think it's only because it gets a little repetitive. And like that's it. And that's my only complaint. And it's not even a complaint. It's like I'm gonna listen to it more probably and appreciate it. You know? So
I will. Okay. So here's the thing. So first of all, you touched on something earlier where this record kicks off so well. Like the first 3 tracks on the record it's almost like, well, where do we go now? Like, you know what I mean? And it took me a minute to understand the ebbs and flows of the record.
Yes.
Okay.
My God. Genre speaking.
Yeah.
This thing is really all over the place because you have really soft acoustic tracks, really amazing down tempo, lo-fi influence stuff, and I love that type of stuff. Like, I'm a really big fan of like UK produced stuff that is part of those genres.
Yeah. And it would appear that Phineas is as well.
Yes, absolutely. And it lends itself well. Billie Eilish has a voice that complements that sound so well, and that sound complements her as an artist.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of reviews where people were kind of dumping on it, and I'm like, well, talking about, it's a lot quieter. And I'm like, well, I don't expect her to do the exact same album twice over.
Well, you know me. I want my artists to evolve. I'll say this, and I know we're not talking about her first record here, but the growth as an artist between the first and second record is off the damn charts here.
I will say it right now. This is better than her first album.
Oh, I will see. Here's the funny thing. People keep making fun of me for this. This has not helped the cause of me listening to her first record because I'm super scared. I still haven't listened to her first record because I'm scared I'll go back and be like, I don't like this anywhere near as much as I like the second one. You know what I mean?
And it's good. I can honestly say her first album is damn good, but to speak on what you just said with the growth, this is better. This is miles better. And it's not even like, that first one sucks. Leave it behind. No, this one's just, it's miles better production, songwriting, lyrically, just the growth, literally like what you just said. The growth is great.
I will say this. So what you said about there not being a stinker, but there was at least one track that you're like, okay, like maybe that one will grow on me. So here's the thing. And again, this isn't required viewing or anything, but I would strongly recommend people do it. What really helped me get how the album is laid out and why songs sound the way they do is the Disney Plus film. And now I know, well, like, again, I didn't tell you about this ahead of time, Richie, because I didn't want to seem like I'm going to just really, Billie Eilish you out. And then, you got to do all this research for this. But do you know of the film that I'm talking about?
I do. I remembered it getting advertised, and I was like, "Oh, that's another one." I was like, "I'll check it out." But now that I've listened to the album, I feel like I'm going to appreciate that.
If you even like this album a little bit, boy, are you going to love that film.
Boy, have I got a surprise for you.
Yeah,
I sure do.
Yeah. It's directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Say no more.
It's
say no more.
Oh, well, I got more to say. So it's kind of a concert film recorded at the Hollywood Bowl, but it's recorded during the pandemic, right? So it's an empty Hollywood Bowl, which makes it like romantic and spooky. And Robert Rodriguez's daughter did a ton of animation for this as well. So if you listen to the themes on the record where like My Future, and where Billie is talking about like trying to find herself and be happy with herself first, there's an animated Billie Eilish that's making its way across Los Angeles to find her at the Hollywood Bowl. Marco Beltrami, who is a legend amongst composers, is there with a full orchestra, adding that to the tracks. So there are some tracks that are just Phineas and Billie. There's some tracks that are Phineas, Billie, and a percussionist. And then there's some tracks that are her and Phineas and a full orchestra. I mean, it's insane. Dude,
yeah. And just looking at the background on this, the fact that the inspiration behind what you just talked about with the animations and stuff are Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Cool World.
Right.
Those are, especially with Cool World, because Ralph Bakshi is one of my favorite animators, and I love his work, period. And I love Robert Zemeckis and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Those are two of my favorite
movies.
movies.
Are all things coming together that you love.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So my point of going on about that at length that I did was when I first really dug into the record, I was where you were at with more than a few tracks. It wasn't just one, where I was like, I don't really get how this fits, or this one's going on a little long, right? And then when you watch that film, it all comes together so hard that you're just like, oh my God. Like, for example, I've probably listened to this record, and I'm not overstating this for the comedy of it. I've probably listened to this record over 100 times since it came out, a couple of years back. The other day I was listening to it for the first time in a long time, like straight through. Right.
Sure.
And there were songs that I was literally talking to myself, like, you idiot. How did you not like this before? You know what I mean? Because now I've seen the film and I totally get the whole thing. So, and to be clear, I'm not saying like, oh, the record isn't good until you see it. The record's brilliant on its own, but I've honest to God, I've never seen a better companion piece for an album than that film is for this album. And that even goes like, I'm a huge Sturgill Simpson fan, and he has that one rock record where he lost his damn mind and made a whole fuzz rock record called Sound and Fury. There's like no fiddles within 1,000 miles of that record, and there's a Netflix special that's all anime that was made to go along with the record. And this Billie Eilish companion piece destroys that. And I'm a huge Sturgill Simpson guy. So when we move into the open discussion on the record, I feel like this open discussion on this particular episode should be retitled Things Richie and Russ Love About This Album. But because I feel like that's what's going to happen. I'm going to go through some of my points. Feel free to interject as I go through mine. Sure. and then cover all of yours. I started out with, this album is everything for me. This album,
dude,
restored my faith in new music coming from new and young artists. And I know that you would agree that's a hefty statement, right?
Yeah, because and I can say that for myself too, because I feel like I speak for both of us when I say this. And this is not even necessarily that like old man get off my porch talk. It's we grew up with our artists. We have our picks. We've locked our picks for who we love and why we love them. And it's, for lack of a better term, we've stuck to our guns on these artists. And it's like, no, I don't, like most people say, like, you don't pick up new artists, like maybe, I don't know, years after you hit like 28, 29, 30 or something.
Right.
And I'm sitting here like, as of recently, and I truly mean this, like, this is not me BSing. I really mean this when I say, as of probably, July last year, I started just being like, no, you know what? I'm going to actively seek out new stuff.
Yeah.
I have an Apple Music subscription, so I every day will scroll up and look at whatever the new release is. And if it's an artist I've never heard of and the album art looks interesting, or like the genre seems like it's going to captivate me a little bit, I go just hit play. Yep. For better or worse. Even if I wind up like, no, this isn't for me, I still check it out.
Right. Yeah,
I feel it.
How powerful this is, and coming from I mean, Billie Eilish's name is on the cover, but this is obviously a joint piece, with Phineas co-writing and producing and doing so much, doing all the instrumentation on the record. But the fact that two people can just basically come out of nowhere and make a record this strong really restores my faith in what is possible from new and young artists. And that ties into the next thing that I wanted to bring up. And you touched on this earlier, the sheer audacity to put the mix of genres on this record that are on this record is stunning in the best way possible.
That is my favorite thing about this album.
Yeah. If you played even the song Happier Than Ever for somebody, and then played the song Billy Bossa Nova for someone and asked him, what album do you think they're off of? No one on earth would tell you they're from the same record.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Which I think is awesome. Like, and not only are from the same record, but they work. They work in a huge way. Another point that I love is I can't remember the last time I heard a record with such strong positive messages for women of all ages, and particularly young women. I think there's something to be taken away for women of any age from songs like My Future, or even Not My Responsibility. But I feel like there's a very, like, if I'm not a girl dad, I have a son. If I had a girl, I would make this mandatory listening for the messaging. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I'm a boy dad myself, but you could show this. You could show this to your sons too. Like, and I mean that like across.
Oh
the board.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to be.
It's like definitely. No.
I'm saying it's harder.
Not even,
it's harder out here for young girls.
No, and that's not even where I was going with it. Where I was going with it is like, dude, like this is a good way to teach.
Yeah.
This is a good way to teach your sons. Like, hey, man, like this is real shit that happens to women.
It's funny.
Like, it really is.
I talked to my son about that. I was like, hey, maybe we'll just scroll by stories that say things like Billie Eilish wears revealing top at, or whatever, or whomever. I'm just using her name because she's in this,
Right.
Jenna Ortega shows leg at, like, maybe we just scroll past those stories. Like, maybe we don't give them the click,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And again, you can use songs on here and be like, this is inside the mind of a person who like she's become the object.
Yes. And she is growing into an adult woman in the industry. Like, that's the thing, and I remembered seeing these interviews with her a long time ago. And I never questioned it. I never at all questioned this one bit. But then you had the trolls that are out there on the internet because they like to do this shit where they're just like, why is she wearing oversized baggy sweatpants and sweaters and all this other stuff? And I'm like, gives a shit. It's whatever she wants to wear. And because my mind was not even going there. I was like,
yeah, because you're a normal person who doesn't worry about what 17-year-old girls are wearing. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I was just like, dude, it's a thing. Like, coming from me, I'm like, oversized clothes are kind of a thing for younger people right now.
Yeah,
like, I know that purposely buy shit that's like 2 sizes too big for them to wear. Like,
right.
I don't get it, but hey, if you like it, do it, whatever.
Yeah. Well, my thing is anybody who's ever taken a selfie with anybody else immediately goes, oh, that's the worst picture ever. Okay. Well, imagine that you were photographed by everybody all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yep.
You would start to come up with ways around that.
Yep. Lyrically stated and overheated. So
yeah. The last thing that I want to point out, and this goes into what I just said, but a little bit further. I love that on this record lyrically, all the doubts and fears and insecurities are on display as well as the strength. This is not a person going, I want to say she's 21 now. So 2021. Yep. Okay. This is not a person going, I am 21 and I have figured it all out. I am better than you and you need to do what I say. Like, there are plenty of points on this record where she's like, also, I'm not entirely sure that's right.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, it's a human being.
I love that too. I was actually going to point that out as well. I always like seeing growth in people. I say this all the time in my everyday life, and it's the truth. I am a work in progress.
Yeah.
I say it all the time. And I think a lot of people, and not even just from this album in particular, but a lot of people could use more of that, kind of energy. And I dig that she brings both the positive and like, I don't know everything, but I'm trying, right. And it's not being afraid, for lack of a better term, not being afraid to take a risk and fall on your face and learn from it and do better.
Right.
Just any of that stuff. Like, again, going back to what you said way earlier, the growth between the first record and this one, not just musically, but lyrically and personally, is full blown,
It's astounding.
cut wide open out in the open on display.
Yeah. So
stuff.
I feel like that's a good segue from like the points I wanted to bring up for open discussion. Like you agreed on that one. I'm sure you had some other things you wanted to talk about with the record. What else you got?
Really, honestly, getting into like the technicality standpoint, just the music itself, not even lyrically, not even like vocally. I'm talking like the instrumentation on this. I love, again, going back, I love the lo-fi electro pop down tempo stuff. I've always enjoyed that that kind of like white noise that's really low grade in the background. It fills the rest of what's happening. Like the fact that you can hear her, and then this kind of, I guess, leans in vocally, the fact that you can hear her leaving in what would be normally just cut out if she's talking or if she's breathing more or heavily or any of that stuff. It's a very vulnerable record. And I think everything lends itself to that. Like musically speaking, you can feel like if she's pissed off about something, you can there's a growl in the bass. You know what I mean? Like there's a growl in the bass production. The stereo panning from the left to the right speakers would indicate some lack of a better term again, some paranoia maybe. Literally any of that stuff. I love that the energy of the instrumentation well represents what's being sung about.
So here's
fantastic.
Here's an interesting thing is that what I love about how well this record is done, and it's because there's people like me and you who love like deeper stuff like Floyd and some Rush and whatever. And there are people though that can't enjoy that stuff or don't like it. I don't mean that like it's beneath them or something, but because part of the enjoyment of that is loving those production touches and things. This record, I feel like you could put on in the background, never think about those things and enjoy it thoroughly. But then for people like me and you that do what we do, you're like, oh my God, this is like 10 more levels to enjoy this record on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's completely from a musician and production standpoint.
Speaking of which, I wanted to give you this trigger warning, Richie, before you watch the Disney Plus film. So you're a musician. You're more of a musician than I am. You know that thing where as a musician, you love and hate watching someone make it look easy? Okay.
Yes.
Well, get ready to full on love Phineas and full on hate Phineas through that whole film. Cause the dude just makes, he's playing every instrument at one point, and he's just making it look super easy. And you're just like, man, that's awesome. God, I hate you, man. That's awesome.
Like, I literally pictured just sitting there with the biggest grin on my face, like enjoying it, but in the same breath, same face, never change. Like, I hate you.
Yeah.
Just crying a little, but smiling. I hate you so much.
Okay. Ass. Yeah. This sounds like I'm just going on praising the both of them, but I am. The two of them did an SNL episode together. That was hilarious. Like it's just, they were both hilarious on the episode. And I literally, when I was watching it, I thought, leave some talent for the rest of us. Like, also, you have great comic timing. Come on now,
right.
Like,
jeez.
Yeah. So, anyways, but we've gone on in detail. There's so much to love on this record. It's crazy. So we get into a couple of more questions here that we ask everybody. And one is, would you buy this record? I made this clear earlier. I blind bought this album when I first bought it, which then leads to, okay, well, did I make a mistake? No. I did not make a mistake. I would buy this record again several times. I would buy copies of this record for strangers and pass them out. Like I'm stunned by this record. So my answer for that is absolutely, beyond the shadow of a doubt. Would I buy this record? Yes. Now I know you've only streamed it thus far, Richie. Is this something you would click order on from Amazon? You go out to the record store and get where are you at?
It's in my shopping cart right now. I'm going to buy it Friday.
You love to hear it. You love to hear it.
100% going to buy this.
Fantastic.
In fact, I'm one of those psychos that likes to buy 2 copies of things, one to open and one to keep wrapped up. This is probably going to be one of those purchases.
Right on. Yeah, it's such a great record. Would you recommend? I usually on this I'll put, of course, or something. For this one, I put, would you recommend? What I typed on my screen here is Jesus Christ, yes. Because in what we touched on earlier with all the genres, there's something for you here. I like whatever music you like, there is something for you here. And I would argue that even if you come into this record and you like one style, but you think, oh, well, I'm probably not going to like the rest of it. I would imagine the rest of this will end up growing on you and maybe get you to expand your horizons more. So would I recommend the record? Absolutely. Richie, where are you at on that?
Do you like music?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you a question, friend. Do you like when the harmonies and the melodies come together?
Exactly. Then you'll be coming together with everything else on this record. I'm telling you, that's my thing. Do you like music? I'm going to answer that question with a question because of course you do.
Yeah.
Buy this freaking thing, please.
Yep. Well, we always round things out with our number rating of the record, and we do 1 through 10, with 10 being the best. I have passed out a few 10s in my time over the course of the show. That number is usually reserved for, I've given it out to people like Sturgill Simpson, a couple of Michael Jackson records. This record did not get a 10 from me. This gets my, in 3 years of the show, first ever 11. This record is an 11 for me. I have tried to find a fault on this record and I can't do it. And I want to say that I feel like the 11 area is pushed over the edge because of having seen the accompanying film. It's astounding. So I will pass it over to you, Richie. Where are you at?
Yeah. See, I'm sitting here saying like, it's easily 10 out of 10 for me. I will lean probably to the 11 side once I've watched this movie, but and Russ, you and I had a discussion about this off the air where I say like I generally do not give like perfect scores for things either, because I'm like there is a fault. There's always a fault. There's always something. Yeah. Even I was sitting there saying there is one track on here that it's not my absolute favorite, but it doesn't suck. It doesn't suck bad enough for me to be like screw this. It's like a 5.
It doesn't detract enough for you to even remove 1 point.
Right.
Like the record still stands at a 10.
Yep. And I purposely have not even mentioned the track title because I want anybody out there to go into this blind or listen to this and not have any preconceived notions about said song.
I kind of picked up on that. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to ask him because I bet he's leaving it out on purpose. The title of the track.
Yep. I'll tell you when we go off there.
Yeah, for sure. And I will tell you, it's interesting. I know I mentioned this at the top of the hour, but Richie and I know each other. We're friends and we're part of the OddPods family. And I know Richie has a lot of different types of music that he loves. But this was not a gimme for me. Like when I texted you the name of the record and you were like, oh, I haven't listened to that yet. I've literally, until we started recording, I didn't know what you thought of this record at all. And I think it's great that we happen to agree. But what I like more than that we happen to agree on is what we agreed on, like the strengths of the record. Like it's not lost on you as an appreciator of music and the world as a whole, the messaging that's on the record, Yep. And they not just, oh, these are catchy songs, but like all the thought that was gone into the production of this. And I let me put it this way. I was hoping you would pick up on that. And I was kind of expecting you to pick up on all that, but a well-produced record with great lyrics does not automatically mean it's going to speak to you personally.
Right.
So I was real glad that we came together on all this. So we are going to get out of here in a second. I will talk to you in a second about what we're going to have next week on this program. But before we do, I have told you a couple of times over the course of the program what Richie does at his show and over on the Super Media Brothers. If you, after this episode, go subscribe to his show, I'll let Richie tell you what it is you can expect. I know you told us that you're kind of going through some WWE stuff with the 30 years, but what do you, I know you guys have a ton of different series that you do. It's not just wrestling. You've got your cult Cinema Showdown. And so just tell people real quick what you guys do.
Right now, we've mostly been doing film reviews and stuff. We do films from the past, or we do films that are currently being released. We'll touch on Marvel and DC stuff. We'll touch on horror movies, comedies, whatever it is. We will do full-on track-by-track album reviews. We will review video games if there's something out that we're currently playing or something that's coming out that we're looking forward to. We do cover professional wrestling. We've just started covering the XFL Football League. It's a little bit of everything for everybody. We're trying to expand a little bit more into the zeitgeist of pop culture.
And I know this from speaking to you like professionally as a content creator. Y'all are real open to what people want too. So if you ever listen to the Super Media Brothers and you go, gosh darn it, I wish they'd cover more video games or more wrestling or whatever, all you got to do is tell them, and they will cover what more people want to hear.
Yeah, you can email us at supermediabrospodcast@gmail.com. You can leave us voice messages on supermediabrospodcast.com. And that's literally like if you want something played on air, or if you just want to talk to us and tell us like what you would like to hear from us, you can just leave us comments on our YouTube channel. Really, if you follow us on Super Media Bros _ on Twitter, that's where we're most active on social media. But yeah, like that, we're really honestly open to anything. We are very in tune with what our audience likes, what they don't like. So we want to hear more of what you want, because we like to talk about everything. So there's not really anything in the pop culture world that we're not going to talk about. I mean, our Cult Cinema Showdown series focuses on purposely / not purposely done terrible movies, so I can't like stress enough that we will talk about literally anything on this show.
Yeah, our show very much has a history of doing exactly what we want to do for the last 3 years. We do exactly, we talk about what we want to talk about and the way we want to talk about it. And so that was my point of giving you a selling point for Richie show, is they're very open to what you want to hear about. So by all means, if you listen to them and you think, oh, I love this show, but I wish they talk about X more, then let them know what X is and they will get on it for you. Next week on this program, Michelle will be returning to her seat, so I'm sure chaos and gnashing of the teeth will occur, at least for me. Joining us next week from the OddPods Media family once again will be Dave from the Beer in Front podcast, who's been on with us more than a few times. The topic of next week's discussion is going to be one of our roundtable type discussions, more of a general type thing, not any sort of review. And we are going to get into the discussion of do artists' personal lives matter, which is going to be kind of a big topic to tackle. And we're going to get into that next week. And if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that I've been careful about things that I have to say over the past couple of years or so. And if you've listened to this episode since we announced we're doing our last season, I have taken off quite a bit of the muffler that I used to put on. So I can tell you that while this show is not going to be, next week's episode is not going to be Hot Take Central, I will tell you I'll be sharing some opinions on some highly regarded artists that you usually don't hear on this program. So that's if I'm telling you that a week before we record it, I assure you it's going to be quite a banger to listen to. So from myself, on behalf of Michelle, and of course on behalf of our brother Richie from over at the Super Media Brothers podcast, without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
The Infectious Groove Podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Kasalecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Kimmel. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.